Hey, what's up everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. I am on my way to some jobs and I wanted to take you guys along and share some of the tanks that we do here at Tanknicians and give you an idea of what I do all day and kind of share my work with you. Our first job is at a barber shop and it's got a really cool tank. It's almost like a TV, like a flat screen TV look to it. Let's go ahead and head there now and check it out. So here we are inside the barber shop. And how cool is this tank? It's custom made. It looks like it's made to look like a flat screen TV. It's really awesome. Unfortunately, the problem we're having in this tank is it's super cloudy. Now this is just recently set up. Customer just recently set this up and you can see the water is really cloudy. We have a bit of a green algae bloom in here, which we're here to, he called us up and we're here to take care of that today. But you can barely see through the water. So we're going to go ahead and add this green killing machine, UV sterilizer, the 9 watt. This should do the trick. It should kill any of those free swimming algae that's in the water column and hopefully clear that water up and get it back to being crystal clear. These are affordable, good price, and we've used them in the past and they've worked really well for us. So I do recommend these for your smaller fish tanks and low tech tanks. So we're back inside the barbershop and I just wanted to kind of show you guys real quick how this tank is set up. You see here on the top there's just a simple fluorescent bulb in here. You have your wiring hidden underneath and on the top here it goes along the side, so you don't really see many wires. You have the filter to the left side of the tank that's kind of tucked away, and then to the far right side I'm going to put the UV sterilizer on that side, kind of tucked away so you really can't see it. Now, like I said, I think this is a really unique tank. I think it's a really cool setup, especially in a barber shop. It's one of the first things you see when you walk in the door. I hope, and all we're here to do today is just to install this UV sterilizer and help the customer get rid of this free swimming algae. But I hope that we are able to come back and do some, I would like to see this tank to its full potential. And I think adding a new scape in this tank, some plants and making it really cool, I do think this tank has some good potential if we can do that. But first things first, we got to go ahead and clear up this water and get this tank crystal clear again. And I'll keep you guys up to date on how that process works. But for now, we're going to move on to the next job. And after a 20-minute drive, here we are at our next job. Now this is another commercial job. This is a painting company. And in the corner of their office, they have a little corner bow front tank, reef tank that they've had set up for a while. We've been maintaining this tank for a couple of years now. Everything is doing really good. You can see we got some LPS, got some hammer corals in there that are rocking and rolling. You got a huge Sinarina right there. That thing is absolutely massive. We put that on, that used to be in the sand and it was a lot smaller. We put that up on the rock and it's doing much better, I'm proud to say. Now, we also have this bubble coral over here that used to be massive, used to be huge, and it's you can see it's tucked in there a bit, but I'll get to that in a second. Over on this whole rock was covered with zoas, and then we got an outbreak of vermitid snails, and they kind of wiped out a lot of those zoas that were there. So we added some bumblebee snails, and the bumblebee snails definitely put a huge dent in those vermitid snails, so hopefully those zoas come back. Now we service this tank once every 2 weeks. And just by looking at it, I'm just kind of observing everything because obviously the concern is that bubble coral. But as I'm looking around the tank, I don't see any signs of stress on any of the other corals, the hammer corals, any of the LPS corals. The zoas, they're open, the color on them look great. The leather coral keeps growing. All the other corals look really healthy in here. So I don't think it's a water chemistry issue. The reason why the bubble coral is kind of retracted in. You can see this akin. This akin, it started off as 2 heads and it's just taken off. Its polyps are out, the heads are big, everything looks great on it. Now, my hunch here to why this bubble coral is kind of retracted in and doesn't seem to be doing well when all the other corals in the tank seem to be doing really well and thriving. My hunch is that it's the clownfish. I think they've gotten to the point of maturity. They're having, exhibiting spawning behavior. They're looking to lay eggs. And ever since they've kind of
been doing that, they've become really aggressive to this bubble coral, and they've been biting it. They've been slapping their body against it. And I think over time, the bubble coral has just gotten really stressed out. It's not used to that. And because if you look at it, I mean, where the tissue meets the skeleton, there's no tissue recession or anything right there. So, and there's no bleaching in the coral. It looks healthy. It just seems to be irritated. So I went ahead and passed this information on to the customer, and he wanted us to take the clownfish out. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to take them out, bring them to our shop, and eliminate them from the equation and see if the bubble coral can come back once the clownfish are out of the tank. So while I'm doing a water change here, I just wanted to kind of show you some of the setup of this tank. So this tank was running really hot at first. We went ahead and installed this fan, and it dropped it from 81 degrees in this tank to 75 degrees. You can see right here. That's a big difference, and the corals are a lot happier. 81 degrees, the LPS coral were definitely stressing out, and they weren't doing as well. But that 75 degrees, they seem to really like that. Now, I wonder, here is the sump area, and it's a bit of a tight fit, but fortunately, we were able to get everything we need in here. We have a protein skimmer, and that's the return section that the protein skimmer is in also. We don't have any problems with microbubbles, fortunately. There's the overflow section there, and then in the middle here we have a little refugium, which is kicking butt, man. You can see this Chloropa in here, this macroalgae in here, that's just going nuts. I always have to harvest this out once I'm here, and it's just powered by a little Kessel light right here. But yeah, it's the Apex system here. Everything's automated. We can do everything from our phone. We got a doser. We have a little RO unit right here that they have their own RO system that they use to mix paint, so that's good to go too. So yeah, it's a little legit setup for this tank. You know, like I said, I can do everything from my phone, so it's nice. And the lights that we have on here are two aqualumination primes. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and then let's go ahead and bounce to the next tank. I'll keep you up to date on what happens with this bubble coral, but let's go to the next tank and let's keep it moving. Now on to the next tank. This is a beautiful setup here. This is a Red Sea Peninsula style tank. It's crazy. Look at these anemones. This started off as one anemone. In a matter of like 8 months, we have like 7 of them now. They've been multiplying quick. But let me go ahead and show you some corals that are in this tank. So we got that really beautiful bright neon green hammer. We got a plate coral right here. What else we got? We got a blasto. We have this beautiful colony of Fabi that's encrusting on the rock. There's some mohawk zoas. We got a little torch coral, some more zoas over there. I don't know the name of those. I really love these Tonga branches in the front on this peninsula style tank. I really think it sets it off. We got some scallies up here that are nice and fat and happy. You see that orange one in the front and the green one in the back. We got a cabbage coral right up here, and then right above that we have a really nice green acan or micromusa or whatever you want to call it right there. That's doing really good. Nice green color on that. We have a really huge colony of Duncan coral right here that started off with just a couple heads. It's growing like crazy. And some Fruit Loop zoas. These guys, I love this. I love those zoas. They're beautiful, and they definitely have reproduced, spread really quick. The coralline algae growth on this tank is also really good. There's a better look at the Fruit Loop zoa, one of my favorite zoas. And another hammer coral right here. Now, if you look at this hammer coral, you can see right there where the skeleton is. See that white, bright white? That's a really good sign of a healthy Euphyllia coral, is that really nice white tissue growth right there. It's a good sign of a healthy Euphyllia coral. And then you can see the other side of where the anemones are. They're just all over this tank. Now, the issue we're having with this tank is we have some brown algae in here. A lot of brown algae, rusty brown reddish algae. We had some cyano in here. We don't have that anymore. We took care of that, but there's still some brown algae in here. And the reason for that is because the nitrates in here are extremely low. But I'll get to that in a second. But that's the main issue we're having right now. Now, the corals don't seem to be suffering, so that's a good thing. So I'll go ahead and show you, if you guys aren't familiar with the Red Sea setup, I'll go ahead and show you the underneath, the filtration area. So we got a little Kessel light right here, which we took out the Chaeto in there, the macroalgae, because tank is low. It's so low nutrient right now, we didn't really need it. But you got your protein skimmer back there. You got your ATO right here, which I need to fill. Again, this is an Apex system. We got the, we can do everything from our phone. We got our doser right there. I control everything from our phone, which is nice. You have your filter socks right here, which I like this Peninsula style tank because you got 4 of those right there, which is really cool. The more filter socks, the better, I think. Especially those filter cups, those Red Sea filter cups. I love those things. But yeah, it's a pretty simple setup, standard Red Sea setup.
So, tested nitrate, did a nitrate, phosphate, calcium alkalinity test. Calcium alkalinity are spot on, phosphate is there. It is presenting a bit of a problem. But our biggest issue right now is the nitrate. And I just wanted to show you guys, this test is sat now. Still needs to sit a little bit longer, but it is clear, completely clear. Now, if you look at the Red Sea chart, you can see it's color coded, and the darker the color, the higher the nitrate in the tank. So this is where usually we want, between right here and right here, and that would be, around 4 to 5 is, 3 to 5 I think is pretty good for most tanks. This tank is, there's nothing. This is clear. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but that is clear. And there is no nitrates in this tank at all. And that is what's giving us that brown algae. That's what's giving us those diatoms. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm gonna go ahead and dose some nitrate into the tank and get those levels up. I did it before and it's already starting to help. The brown algae is starting to recede a little bit. There's like no cyano in the tank at all, but we're gonna go ahead and add more nitrate, try to get those levels up slowly. Hopefully in the near future we can hit 3, and then we can get it to, about 5 is where I'd like to see it. And then I think we'll see less of that brown algae in the tank. Now the reason why they're struggling so bad with their nitrates is, this is a tank that we took over, and the previous service company that was doing the tank did not quarantine the fish and put the fish straight into the tank. There was no quarantine involved. Some marine velvet got into the tank, unfortunately, and they lost a tremendous amount of fish, a lot of fish. So the fish were keeping the nitrates, keeping the nutrient level and the nitrate level in the tank at a good level. But ever since those fish are gone now, and the corals are consuming so much, the spare, nutrients in the tank kind of bottomed out, and there's no really nitrates. There's no fish waste to produce those nitrates anymore. Tank kind of bottomed out, so we're gonna have to supplement that by adding it in there, and hopefully over time we can get some more fish in this tank. We've already added 2 more, but they're small and we're going slow, and then we can eventually bring those nitrates up naturally, and we won't have to dose nitrate in this tank.
So here's one last look at the tank with the whites on. I'm really happy with the way this tank is progressing. I think it's just a beautiful tank, and I can't wait to get more coral in here and more fish in here. And I'll definitely keep you guys updated with how it does. So let's go ahead and head on to the next job. I think it's the last job of the day, so let's go ahead and head there now. And here we are at the last job of the day. Now this is a tank we just recently picked up. I've only been here a couple of times. And it's a beautiful tank, a beautiful setup. I love the way this looks, and looks great in their house. But I'm happy we were able to get this job, because this tank is not living up to its potential. You can see there's just a ton of Kenya tree in here, and there's just not much coral in here, not much. It's just very plain looking, and you can see some of the coral here. There's maybe some hammers in here, but there's a ton of vermitid snails in here. The sand's very dirty. You can see the hammer corals right there. They're not thriving. They're missing heads. There's some weird bacteria and algae that are growing on this tank. You can see that this coral right here is not doing very well. So there's some issues with this tank. As beautiful it looks when you walk in the door, there's definitely some underlying issues in this tank. So number one, we need to get rid of these vermitid snails. So we'll go ahead and address that in the future. We need to definitely get rid of some of this Kenya tree. There's just way too much Kenya tree in this tank. It's just taking over, and it's not going to allow any other coral to grow. And the customer definitely wants a more variety of coral. Not that Kenya tree isn't a really pretty coral. It definitely is. It's just there's just way too much of it, and it just spreads so quickly. So we're going to go ahead and harvest some of this out and no, not some. We're gonna take a lot out and make room for some other corals in this tank. Now, as far as fish in this tank, you see they got the yellow tangs. There's some clowns in here, but the two big daddies right here are the Heniochus butterfly fish. They are relatively safe reef fish, so that's why they're in this tank. Now we go up top here on top of the tank, and I'm gonna show you the lights. Now we have some Hydra 64s on here. The ones they had in here previously were old. They were the older model, and the LEDs were burnt out on them. The spectra was all messed up, and that was a lot of the reason why the corals in this tank weren't thriving. So we went ahead and installed 4 new Hydra lights in here, and the tank is night and day now. So it's definitely made a difference. You can see the overflows right there. You can see a lot of algae growth in there, a lot of green hair algae in there, which is whatever. We'll just harvest that out, no big deal. Now I'll take you guys below here, and this is the filtration area. So these little panels come off here, and again, this tank has the house has its own RO system, and that just feeds into the ATO right there, which tops off the tank when it gets low. There we go, you got your little hydrofill right here, so that's where your ATO goes. And you have your doser right here. We dose the Reef Pro calcium alkalinity. We have your outlets over here, but we pretty much have everything that we need. Lights are on a separate switch. We don't use the media reactors. It's not necessary. There's no point of having that going. And then we go over here to the other side so I can give you a better look at the filtration under here. You got your protein skimmer going right there. You have your, let me get under here, your return section over to your left, 2 filter socks. Your overflow section. And then you have your return section right here. So there's no refugium in here. Very simple setup, nothing crazy. We don't use the media reactors at all. There is a UV sterilizer on here. But other than that, it's really simple. So now I went ahead and got the water change setup going. The previous service company that had this tank did not do water changes, so the nitrates are extremely high, especially given the bioload with those 2 butterfly fish in here. So the nitrates are high, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a decent amount water change in here, maybe something around 40%, 35, 40%. So I'll go ahead and do that, just kind of keep those nitrates in check. Now we want to have this green star polyp come back. You can see it's starting to come back now. But I need to get rid of some more Kenya tree right there so that we can really allow that green star polyp to come back, because you can see it's just getting smothered there by the Kenya tree. And the owner really likes that green star polyp. I'm also going to take out that whole rock of Kenya tree. Actually, I'm going to take out this whole section of Kenya tree. All the loose rock there, I'm just going to take them all out. I'm really excited to be working on this tank. I think it, like I said, has a tons and tons of potential. I'm not quite sure which direction I want to go. I just know I want to put some really nice coral in here. Maybe an anemone, I don't know. What do you guys think? You know, is there a coral, is there fish or anything that you like to see in this tank? You have any suggestions? I'm definitely open to it. I'd love to hear other people's opinion. You know, what you guys think would do well in here, or just what you think would look cool. Definitely love to hear it, and comment below. Let me know for sure. That'd be awesome. But I'm done here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. And I'll keep you posted on how this tank is doing as well. All right, so I'm done for the day. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out and checking out all the tanks. Let me know which tank you like the best. And if you have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I see them. All right, hope everybody has a good one.